So greetings of today. My name is Hanshal, and the accountancy presentation that I'm going to be doing today is on the topic of issue of shares for consideration other than cash. This is quite a simple topic, so I'm going to explain it as if you're 11th grade child first time joining accounts. Okay. So before we begin with anything, first of all, what exactly are shares? Okay, share is the minimum part of the capital. Okay, and I'll give you an example. Suppose a company issues 10,000 shares and each share is priced at rupees 10. So the total share capital that the firm is issuing is 1 lakh rupees. Simple, right? So now that you know what shares are, there are mainly two types of shares. Okay, there are many other subcategories under this, but we'll go over this real quick, two simple ones. You have equity and preference shares. Now, these preference shareholders, they have a preferential right over the equity shareholders. Okay, that simply means that suppose the firm is coming to an end, you're winding up the firm. In such a case, the preference shareholders will be paid first before anything else. Okay, and the equity shareholders will only be paid after all the liabilities and the preference shareholders have been paid. Okay, and the preference shareholders, they have no voting rights in that case. And another thing that the preference shareholders get is a fixed rate of dividend. Equity shareholders, they don't get a fixed rate of dividend. Okay, so and equity shareholders are also known as residual shareholders. The reason they're called residual shareholders again is because they get paid at the end after all the expenses and liabilities of the firm are being paid. Okay, so now you know what shares are, you know the types of shares. How exactly are shares even issued? So there are two main ways you can issue shares. The one that most people know is called IPOs, or initial public offerings. This is when a public company issues its shares to the public for the very first time. Those are IPOs. And if you see something called FPOs, these are follow-up public offerings. This is simply, suppose the authorized share capital, that is the amount of share capital that a firm is allowed to issue is say 1 lakh, and you only issued 50,000 rupees worth of shares. In such a case, that other 50,000 can be issued up as FPOs whenever the firm needs that money. Okay, so you know IPOs and FPOs. These are mainly two ways that you can issue it. There are many other ways you can issue it via debentures, bonds, but this is the basic. Okay, the next one is, before we actually move into our topic for today, we'll go over issue shares for cash. So when you talk about issue shares for cash, it simply means you're issuing shares and you're collecting money in the form of cash or through the bank or any other banking instrument for that matter. Yeah, and this shares can be issued mainly in two ways, that is at par or at premium. At par, you can see the examples as well. At par simply means suppose the share price is 100 rupees and you're issuing it at 100 rupees, whereas at premium means the share price is 100, however you're issuing it for 120. That 20 rupees extra is the securities premium. Why would the firm issue it at a premium? It simply means that at times, suppose a company has a really good reputation in the market and they know that the demand for their shares are going to be really high. So knowing that people are going to be ready to buy that share, so they issue it at a higher price, knowing people will buy. So it just helps them out at the end of the day. So there's a journal entry for it. This is a very simple journal entry, bank account debit, that is us receiving the money for the application and allotment. So bank account debit to share application and allotment. Okay. Now under this, again, this is a huge topic, but since this is not our topic for today, I'll quickly go through it. And the second entry is share application and allotment account debit to share capital. That is, now you're allotting them the shares for those who have applied. To securities premium, that is, if you've issued it at premium, you will credit securities premium. Simple. Now moving on to our topic for today, that is the issue of shares for consideration other than cash. Again, this simply means that instead of collecting cash or anything through the bank, you're giving shares, you're offering shares as a form of payment. There's two scenarios that you can use this. One is when you purchase an asset or a business, and the second one is suppose you're paying your promoters. I'll explain it separately, but they're basically paying them for the services that you've taken from them. Okay, so the first case, that is for the purchase of an asset. Now all these entries, I'll explain it through the journal entry itself because it's a lot easier that way. It's easier to understand. So for the purchase of an asset, again, suppose you are a business, in this case suppose I am a business and I am purchasing an asset from you. Since the asset is coming into my business, assets have a debit balance and debit what comes in. So you will first debit your sundry assets to the vendor's account, that is the giver of the asset. Simple entry. Sundry assets account debit to vendor's account. And the next entry is a very generic entry. Instead of making a cash payment to them, you're going to issue them shares. So vendor's account to share capital, you're giving them share, and again if it is at premium, to securities premium. So that is for the purchase of an asset. Now this is for the purchase of a business. This is quite important. This is an overall entry that I've shown. Okay, the one that is highlighted with red as two different scenarios under this topic. Okay, this is an overall complete entry. So for the purchase of a business, the first case is when the credit side amount is far greater than the debit side. So what does this mean? So let's take another example over here. You're buying a business and say the business has assets worth 60 lakh rupees. Okay, assets have a debit balance, so you will debit it again. Then you have sundry liabilities. Since you're buying the business, of course you'll be taking up the liabilities of the firm as well. Liabilities have a credit balance, so you will credit sundry liabilities 20 lakhs. Now if you see, the business is worth about 40 lakhs because assets are 60, liabilities are 20. It's about 40 lakhs. The business is worth. However, if you see, we've credited the vendor that is charging 60 lakhs, which is more than how much it's actually worth. This simply means that you might have gotten into a negotiation and the vendor ended up charging a lot more, and the negotiation went in his favor. Is unfavorable for us. This means that the extra 20 lakhs that you see that's missing in the debit side, that is the amount of money that he's charging for the goodwill of that firm. So again, when the credit side amount is greater than the debit side, it means that the vendor is charging some extra for the goodwill. This is the first case. The second case is when the debit side is greater than the credit side. Once again, you're buying an asset, you're debiting it because assets have a debit balance, and suppose the assets are worth 80 lakhs. You have liabilities that you took 20 lakhs. Which means the business is now worth 60 lakhs. However, if you see, the vendor is only charging 40 lakhs, less than how much you actually have to pay, which means you got into a negotiation and it was favorable for you. So that extra 20 lakhs that you ended up saving, that is going to be transferred to their capital reserve. So the overall entry comes up to be sundry assets account debit to sundry liabilities to vendors, and then finally to capital reserve. The line again, you can see at the end, it's an easy way to remember it. When debit side amount is greater than the credit side, it means that the remaining amount is transferred to the capital reserve. So that was the second case in the first scenario. Next is for the services taken. Now under this again, there are two cases. The first one is when you offer your shares to promoters. Who are promoters? Promoters basically, they have an idea and they start a business and they finally commercialize that idea. That is what promoters do. So practically they're businessmen. So these promoters, obviously that they've started a business, they expect something from the business back to them. In this case, they expect either it's usually in the either it can be in the form of cash, but most of the times you give them shares of the company, and you pay them certain expenses. The promoters, you have to pay them some amount, and that is in the form of incorporation expenses. Again, this is an expense for the firm, so you will debit it to the promoter's account. Now, since it is not paid in cash, and since you're doing for consideration other than cash, you're going to give them shares. So the promoter's account debit to share capital, you are giving them the shares, and if it is issued at premium, to securities premium. That is for promoters. And then finally, you have for underwriters. So who exactly are underwriters first of all? Suppose you're a company and you're issuing your shares to the public, and you've issued 1 lakh rupees worth of shares. And there's something called minimum subscription. That is, the public needs to apply for 90% of the shares, in this case that's 90,000 rupees. And in case it doesn't, whatever money they have received up to that point, they have to give it back. So to avoid such a scenario, the company gets into a contract with an individual or a firm, and they basically hire these underwriters. Why? Because they guarantee that in case the firm is unable to reach the minimum subscription rate, they will buy the shares for them, ensuring that nothing goes wrong in the case of minimum subscription. So for that, underwriters charge some commission, and that is an expense for the firm. Expenses are debited. So underwriting commission account debit, you'll debit it, and then to underwriters account. And finally, again, the generic entry, underwriters account debit to share capital, because you're giving them the shares, and if it is at premium, to securities premium. So that mostly covers up everything under this topic. I hope it was informative and it was worth your while. Thank you. So any questions, anything?
So when company is issuing the shares to a vendor for the purchase of an asset,
Yeah.
will this entry affect the balance sheet of the company?
Yes, because you're buying an asset, right? For you, so wait, your question was once again to purchase an asset from a vendor, right? Okay. Of course, see, this is it's no different than your ordinary entry of actually buying an asset. So suppose you're the vendor, I'm a firm, okay, you have an asset that you want to sell, I want to buy it. And I don't want to pay you via cash, okay, I don't want to pay you through the bank or anything like that. So instead, I say that I will give you some ownership in my company by giving my shares. That is the entry that you saw, which is sundry assets account. Now for me, that is the entry. For me is sundry assets, because if you want to learn in 11th, that is debit what comes in, real account. So whatever comes in for me, sundry assets account, you will debit it to the giver of the asset, which was you. You'll credit the vendor's account. And then finally, instead of paying you for cash, I give you the shares of my company. So that is the entry that you saw for vendor's account debit to share capital. And suppose I gave it to you and I issue to you through some premium, then I will credit securities premium. That's how it affects my balance sheet. So yes, it does affect your balance sheet, but in the form of cash, it will be shown by giving shares to the company. So I hope I've answered your question.